I never expected to find love in a hug between worlds. The shocking truth shattered my heart. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The sky was a strange shade of purple, like a bruise waiting to heal. I stood there, trembling, caught between two realities. My breath hitched as I watched the swirling mist, a fog that felt alive. I could almost hear whispers calling me. A shiver ran down my spine. It was as if the air itself was charged with a haunting energy. I felt like a ghost, lost in my own life. My parents? They were in their world of oblivion, refusing to see the pain. My friends? They drifted away, consumed by their own dramas. I was left alone, trapped in a web of despair, searching for hope in every corner. My heart ached with every memory of laughter turned to silence. The echoes of abandoned conversations lingered, each one another reminder of who I used to be. That day changed everything. I had hoped for a sign. For a miracle. Instead, I found myself standing at the edge of the unknown, teetering between the life I knew and whatever lay ahead. My hands trembled as I reached out, fingers grazing the swirling fog. It pulsed, warm and inviting. I couldn't help but feel drawn to it. It felt as if it held the answers, secrets, and the love I so desperately craved. I took a step closer, trees swaying ominously behind me. The ground felt unstable, like a heartbeat echoing beneath my feet. A gust of wind whisked the fog and revealed a shimmering figure within. I squinted, my heart racing. Was it a trick of the light? No, it was real. A silhouette, ethereal, beckoning me with open arms. A voice echoed through the air, soft and melodic, "Come, embrace it." My pulse quickened. Could I trust this figure? My heart wrestled with fear and curiosity. I closed my eyes, my breath shallow. Just then, lightning struck, bright and blinding. The figure vanished in an instant, leaving me standing in darkness. My heart pounded in my chest, fear gripping me like a vice. What had just happened? Who was that? The questions spiraled in my mind, desperate for answers. I stumbled back, fear coursing through my veins. What if I was never meant to find out? And when everything went quiet. A moment of stillness, followed by the sound of distant cries echoing in the air. I did not know whether to flee or dive deeper into the unknown. But one thing was certain: my life would never be the same. I stood there, in that fragile space between worlds, and wondered, hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. I stood on the precipice, heart racing, conviction wavering. The fog swirled thick around me, enshrouded in an aura that both beckoned and terrified. The distant cries intensified, piercing the stillness like shards of glass. I hesitated, torn between the pull of an alluring unknown and the haunting echoes of my deserted life. Suddenly, I felt a warm presence beside me. I turned, half expecting to see the figure from before, but instead, it was a girl barely older than I was. Her hair cascaded in waves, framing a face illuminated by a faint glow. She exuded a quiet strength, and her eyes reflected something deeper than fear or uncertainty. It was understanding, a kindness that struck me like a gentle touch. "I've been here too," she said, her voice a soothing balm against the chaos. "I know what it's like to feel lost." "How do you know that?" I asked, my throat tightening. "What do you want from me?" "I want to help you find your way," she replied, stepping closer. "But first, you have to face your truth. It's the only way you can move forward." The temptation of love and warmth is strong, but it can also blind you. Her words entwined around my heart, a rope pulling me toward vulnerability. I lowered my gaze, memories flooding my mind, days spent in laughter that turned to silence and nights filled with loneliness that echoed deep into my soul. I don't know if I can bear another heartbreak, I admitted, a tremor evident in my voice. I understand, she continued, but there's still hope. There's love in unexpected places, and it's waiting for you. Even here, where the worlds collide. But you have to choose: will you take a step into the fog, or remain in the shadows of your past? Her words resonated within me. There was an undeniable pull, a plea for change teetering between my desire to flee and my yearning for connection. Slowly, I reached out, fingers brushing against the swirling mist once more. It wasn't just the unexplored depths I felt, it was the ache for love, the yearning for something I could hold onto. Just as I willed myself to step further, the air crackled ominously, and the lightning returned with a deafening roar. The girl lurched back, fear etched on her face. "No!" she cried out, raising her arms as if to ward off the impending storm. "We need to go. It's not safe here." As if on cue, the earth trembled beneath us, and the ground began to split, exposing a chasm of swirling darkness. Panic surged through me. I turned to the girl, whose expression shifted from fear to determination. "We can't let it take us. Follow me." We sprinted side by side, heart pounding, the chaos erupting around us. A sense of urgency surged like fire within me, igniting a flicker of hope. Perhaps this was my chance, perhaps I wouldn't have to face my fears alone. We found ourselves at a barrier where light met shadow, the crimson gold hues shimmering against the encroaching dark. "Don't look back," she urged, grasping my wrist with strength. "Keep your eyes on the light. That's where love is. That's where we'll find answers." Yet amidst the thunder and chaos, a bolt of recognition struck me like a jolt of ice water. "Wait, what's your name?" I called out, panic rising in my chest. She hesitated only for a moment, and then yelled above the cacophony, "Call me Mira." Before I could respond, we were enveloped in a brilliant flash, an awakening moment where time seemed suspended. With a desperate lunge forward, I reached for a flickering light just out of reach, feeling the warmth pulsing just beyond the veil. But then, out of the swirling chaos, a shadow emerged, a figure I recognized, one that sent my heart racing for reasons I could barely understand. "Stop!" the figure yelled, a haunting familiarity engulfing me. My heart twisted in my chest as recognition washed over me. It was someone I had thought lost, someone tied irrevocably to my past in a way that had once felt unbreakable. "Mira, stay close!" I shouted, my mind whirling in a tempest of confusion. I had set out searching for hope, yet I found myself at the precipice of a much darker secret, with everything hanging in the balance. The battle between past and potential love surged around me like a maelstrom, my heart caught in the tempest of emotions. In that moment of recognition, standing between two worlds, I faced a choice I hadn't anticipated. Would I run towards the light and embrace the unknown that shimmered before me, or would I turn back to confront the truth that had haunted me from the start? Time hung heavy in the air, thick with unspoken truths and the weight of decisions yet made. I took a step back, the impulse to flee enveloped in shadows fighting against my need to confront the familiar figure that tore through the chaos. My heart raced as it recalled cherished laughter and whispered secrets from days gone by. The figure, half-formed within the swirling mist, reached out towards me, a desperate plea in their eyes that ignited the embers of old feelings. "Maya," I uttered breathlessly, my voice barely a whisper against the cacophony. It had to be her, the sister I thought lost forever in the reverberations of my own pain and our family's pain. The irony twisted my gut. Amidst my tumultuous journey in search of hope, here stood a ghost of my past, unearthing feelings I thought I had buried. "Soren." Maya's voice trembled, a note of urgency flooding her tone. "You have to listen. This place is dangerous. It feeds on fear, on unresolved emotions. You can't let it hold you back. Her words faltered against the roaring winds, the landscape vibrating as I felt a writhing energy pulsating from the shadows. Why are you here? I thought I lost you. My heart shattered at the vulnerability in her plea, eclipsing my anger with a tidal wave of disbelief. The tears I never shed for her loss threatened to spill forth against the wall I had built between us. I was swallowed by the same darkness you're facing. I thought I could escape it, but it lured me into a place far worse than I imagined. Her eyes darted between me and the encroaching shadows. It thrives when we hold on to our grief. You have to let go, Soren. You have to choose the light. Despite the chaos raging around us, a flicker of warmth ignited in my chest, an ember fed by nostalgia but sharpened by fear. Maya's voice wrapped around my heart like a soft blanket, reminding me of hope lost and buried, yet not entirely extinguished. But amidst the moment's resonance, Mira tugged at my wrist, urgency boiling in her touch. Soren, we have to go now. The longer we stand here, the stronger the darkness becomes. Maya's expression faltered at the mention of hope, and it pained me to watch her fade. No. Don't leave me again, I implored, desperation tearing at my voice as the ground beneath us quaked in vehement protest. This isn't the end. You have to choose. She cried, her voice rising alongside the clamor of the storm. I could see her plead with every fiber of her being, her face a reflection of everything I longed to understand. Just then, a new complication materialized before us, a towering shadow, dark and menacing, its form shifting and pulsating like a living nightmare. You think you can escape the truth? It rasped, its voice guttural, echoing with memories of regret and sorrow. You are bound to it. All your fears, your grief, they bind you here. With those words, the ground heaved, and suddenly the light beyond flickered ominously, an ethereal promise threatened by uncertainty. Mira squeezed my hand. Look at me, Soren. Focus. We can break through together. My heart teetered on the precipice, caught between the vibrant allure of the light and the haunting memories that rooted me in place. In that moment, clarity surged through me like an electrifying current. I could choose to be bound by my past, or I could face the tumult for the hope that awaited me. Maya, I began, turning my gaze back to her, but the shadows began to swallow her form, a resolve etched upon her fading countenance. Be courageous, Soren. I believe in you, she whispered as her image vanished, leaving behind lingering phantoms of laughter and loss that crushed my heart. Maya. I tried to reach for her, but the darkness surged, sending anguished cries echoing through the tempest. I felt shattered, lost in a dilemma that could only push me further into despair. Now! Myra's shout broke through my reverie, drawing my focus back to the flickering light. I nodded, an unspoken determination propelling me forward. As we lunged toward the light, a sudden veil of tension crackled between us, a bond formed in that fleeting moment of choice, woven by fear and camouflaged love, but before we could reach the threshold of solace, the shadows twisted violently, holding us back with frigid breath. You want to move forward? Then you must face the truth. The embodiment snarled, and with a snap of unseen fingers, the chasm expanded, and new specters approached, ciphers of those I once loved, their faces etched with both pain and familiarity. In the haze of burgeoning understanding, I screamed out, caught in a web of love, loss, and choices. The truth? I don't even know what that looks like anymore. But the shadows chuckled, and as they pressed closer, the echoes of my heart's past reverberated within me. Each face carried a thread of memory, one that challenged me to recognize that I was never alone. At that juncture, lights began to unfurl from within me, flicks of brilliance lighting the darkness, if only for the briefest moment, a connection I couldn't yet comprehend. And with it came a revelation that sent shivers through my very core. Remember, the shadow boomed, you cannot embrace love without understanding the truth of your grief. As the memory started to swirl and merge into a torrent, the energy rippled through the air, and in that heartbeat, I understood I was standing at a crossroads, could I turn to the light pulling me forward or be consumed by the weight of my own history? Frozen in place as darkness lunged towards us, I felt the ache of my past tethered to hope struggling to emerge, weaving promises of love against the backdrop of haunting loss. The choice loomed ahead, laden with uncertainty, the implications of which could be devastating. At that moment, I would either confront everything I had buried, or succumb to a heartache far worse than I had ever imagined. The world around me felt like it was teetering on the edge of a precipice, each flicker of light a promise and each shadow a reminder of what could be lost. As the dark specters closed in, I could taste the acrid blend of desperation and longing in the air. My heart thudded heavily against my ribs, a drum echoing fears and heartaches interwoven with long-buried love. I glanced at Mira, who stood firm at my side, her expression a blend of fear and fierce determination. In that moment, I realized that I wasn't just battling for my own salvation, I was fighting for her, too. And yet, the shadows were relentless, whispering dark truths that taunted me, threatening to unravel the fragile bond we had forged through the storm. Suddenly, one specter lunged forward, my father's face twisted with anguish. "You promised you would never forget me," he shouted, a chilling echo that struck deep within my soul. My throat tightened at the sight of him, his disappointment a weight I had carried far too long. I swallowed hard, grappling with the cacophony of emotions rising like a tidal wave. "I'm sorry. I tried." I gasped, my body instinctively taking a step backward, only to feel Mira's vice-like grip on my arm anchoring me in place. I tried to remember, I pleaded into the void, desperate for understanding, for forgiveness, but the shadow only loomed larger, rage creeping into its sorrowful visage. "Your denial suffocates you. You must acknowledge the pain. You have buried me under layers of grief, layers that suffocate your love." Each specter materialized like a dark ink blot seeping into my heart. Scenes of my childhood flashed before me, joyous moments alongside laughter now tinged with loss. I saw Maya, radiant and filled with life, her eyes shimmering with dreams and aspirations. I saw her fading, and alongside that vision, an insurmountable guilt blossomed in my chest. I had left her behind, choosing to wrap myself in pain instead of confronting what lay ahead. Myra's voice broke through my reverie. "Soren. Focus. We need to face this together. You're not alone in this fight." Her words wrapped around me, igniting the embers of connection between us. I could feel her warmth, her unwavering strength, a lifeline amidst the chaos. Driven by an inner resolve I hadn't realized was still alive, I raised my chin and stepped closer to my father's specter. "You think I've forgotten? I haven't. I've cherished every moment we had, and it hurt too much to acknowledge. I thought it would keep me safe, but it only imprisoned me." The shadow faltered for a fleeting moment, uncertainty flickering across its face. I grabbed a hold of that hesitation, fueled by the support of my sister and Mira standing shoulder to shoulder, unyielding against the darkness. "I loved you, even when I was too afraid to show it." I gasped, each word tumbling from my lips like an incantation, an acknowledgement of my fears and losses. "It isn't that I want to forget, I've spent too long letting my grief define me. But I'm ready to face it now. I want to embrace the love that was lost." With a loud crack, the shadows trembled as if struck by lightning. The weight of my words ricocheted off the walls of our fractured realities. For the first time, I felt a ripple of warmth coursing through the dark. Laughter and light began to mix among the shadows, dissolving some of them like mist in the morning sun, but before I could take in the miracle unfolding around us, another familiar figure emerged amidst the shadows. The essence of Maya returned, her once distant visage now vibrant yet sorrowful. "Soren!" She cried again, desperation infusing her tone. "You can't let them pull you back. You are stronger than this." "Maya!" I called out, hope rushing through my veins at her sudden appearance. "I thought I lost you how you did lose me, but I'm here to remind you that letting go doesn't mean forgetting." Her eyes shimmered with an unearthly glow that pierced the gloom surrounding us. "Embrace the truth, the love you have for me transcends even this darkness. Remember the joy we shared. Your grief doesn't." Minimize it, it holds the key to your strength. As her words reverberated through me, I began to weave those memories into something tangible, a tapestry of hope, a bridge between past and present. The darkness, once so suffocating, felt tentative in its pressure, even as it threatened to crush me under its weight, but just as I took a step toward the light, a sudden tremor swept through the ground, and the world disintegrated into layers of chaos. The shadows erupted in anger, swirling around us with renewed vigor. You think you can escape us? You think you can love without consequence? Before I could respond, the shadows lunged, and for a split second, time stretched, the air thick with threats and uncertainties. No! I shouted, bolstered by the faces of those I loved and lost, holding on to the light that flickered dangerously on the edge of my reality. And just then, as I felt a dreadful crushing weight pin me to the ground, Mira's hand slipped from my grip, her presence fading like a whisper. "Soren," she cried out, her voice slicing through the storm. "Fight. Don't let go of what you love." But even as the darkness loomed heavier, the world around me cracking like glass, a shocking realization crashed over me like an avalanche. Mira was tethered to the shadows as much as I was. I felt ice seize my heart. A terrifying truth unfurled in my chest, one that set panic coursing through my veins. She had sacrificed her own light to help me, her connection now a bargaining chip in the dance of shadows. My throat clenched at the thought, and I could scarcely breathe. "No!" I screamed, the anguish tearing from me, clawing back to her, willing her to return. But all that remained were shadows, contorting into a signal of darkness, thriving on despair, my heart racing with the chilling realization that fear could devour them both. I had to find courage, but the torrid storm raged on, ensnaring me in its embrace, and the boundaries between love and despair began to blur. The price of my truth could shatter our alliance, a revelation that could either set us free or forever trap us. As darkness threatened to consume what little hope remained, I was left teetering on the brink, knowing that a choice loomed ahead. Would love reignite and illuminate the path, or would the truth of my grief drag us deeper into a despair that echoed across realms? The shadows swirled angrily around me, their whispers rising in an unsettling crescendo. Each gust of darkness churned my insides as I grappled with the realization that I might lose Mira entirely, her vibrant spirit swallowed whole by the relentless tide of despair. "No, please!" I cried, my voice barely a whisper among the chaos. Somehow, it felt inadequate against the weight of my emotions. Maya's essence flickered beside me, still radiant yet somber. "Soren, focus on the love," she urged, her eyes imploring me to grasp firmly onto what mattered most. "This darkness feeds on fear, and your heart is the beacon. Recall the moments that ignited your spirit. Trust in that love." I took a deep breath, desperately trying to summon the warm memories that had once bound me to Maya, my family, and now Mira. I recalled the laughter we shared during sun-soaked afternoons, the dreams whispered under starlit skies, the hugs that felt like solace. Each moment was a strand of light, shimmering like a thread woven through the very fabric of my being, urging me to find strength amidst the quaking shadows. But the weight of despair cracked my resolve further as I turned my gaze toward the shadows. Faces twisted in anguish loomed closer, their accusations sharp and biting. "You selfishly cling to love. You think nostalgia will shield you from the truth?" They taunted, weaving a net of darkness around my thoughts, tightening with each taunt. Yet, in that swirl of torment, I felt a flicker, a small moment of clarity amidst the chaos. Mira's voice echoed back to me, strong yet gentle. "Remember what you promised to fight for, Soren. Remember us." With that, I closed my eyes and summoned the feeling of her hand clasped in mine, a strength that had once felt so unshakable. "I will not let fear extinguish our light." I shouted into the tempest, emboldened by the recollection of our shared dreams, our whispered secrets. The way her laughter filled my heart with warmth, the shadows recoiled, unable to resist the potency of that love. "Foolish boy." One specter sneered, but I stood resolute, a shimmering beacon of defiance. "Love is never futile," I cried out, each syllable striking the very core of my being. It is born of sacrifice and carries the weight of our joy and pain. It binds us, weaving us together even beyond the edges of existence. The shadows hesitated, their wrath waning momentarily under the onslaught of my conviction. Strands of warmth began to weave through the darkness, illuminating my path as I turned back to where Mira used to stand, her absence now a chasm that threatened to swallow me whole. Mira, I fight for you. I need you. I shouted into the depths, my heart thundering against despair's tight grasp. Come back to me. I could feel the darkness shift, something stirring within the void. The familiar warmth, the smell of her lingering perfume, began to filter back through the storm, a glow shimmering in the dimness. And then, as if caught in the current of my plea, Mira's silhouette began to emerge through the shadows, her face pale but resolute. Mira! I gasped, reaching toward her, my heart soaring at the sight. Yet before I could connect, the other shadows rallied, their voices a discordant choir rising in fury. She is lost, fool! They hissed, the air thick with the pungent scent of despair. You have doomed her with your sentiments. No! I raged, grounding myself in the connection that had always thrived between us. I refuse to believe that. I will not lose her to my fears. With the tendrils of darkness receding momentarily, I noticed a glimmer from Mira's eyes, confusion mingled with a flicker of recognition. She stepped towards me, her hand extending, glowing softly, but each step she took was met with resistance, the shadows clawing at her heels, determined to pull her back into their depths. Don't let them win, Soren. She urged, her voice carrying a raw desperation. We can't lose this hope. Remember what brought us here, the laughter, the love, it's all still here. It was as if her words cast a spell over me, a forgotten memory rekindled. That radiated throughout the space. I closed my eyes again, and the world transformed in an instant. I didn't just see the shadows anymore, I began to feel every heartbeat, every shared experience. The room shimmered with moments that had carved the essence of who we were, a bridge illuminating our connection, standing fierce against the looming chaos. Yet, even as light seemed to surge forward, I felt a shiver run down my spine, an echoing reality beyond the darkness. It struck me that the shadows were not just pursuing Mira, but were emboldened by a darkness even deeper that craved to tear us apart. Lines of fate crisscrossed and twisted, revealing the shocking nexus of our existence. I had wondered if my grief would pull us under. But now I was confronted with a stark truth: every choice held the power to fracture our bonds, and Mira herself had faced the brunt of those consequences. Join me, Soren. Maya's essence merged with the flickering warmth of my memories, urging me into focus, into strength. You can save both of us. Lend each other your heart, turn the shadows into light through the love that will always remain. The realization crashed over me, a tidal wave of hope and anguish. By mourning her loss, had I inadvertently weakened her spirit? I needed to allow our memories to stay alive, not just inside me but manifest through our bonds anew. But just as clarity began to settle, the shadows lashed out with reckless fury. You think you can simply rewrite the ties of fate? You can't escape us. They shrieked, and a razor-sharp pain split through my chest as they struck closer than before. The force knocked me back, and I stumbled. With Mira stretching her hand further, urging me to close that distance, I felt both fear and warmth surge through my veins. Time hung in the balance, a spectrum of potentialities splayed before us, one that could either heal or doom our connection. Together! I shouted, my voice a rallying cry against the darkness. No matter the cost. Our hands reached out, fingers brushing against each other, the light beginning to intensify between us. But just as our connection began to bloom, a shadow broke through, a whisper laden with torment striking at the very essence of our bond, a hidden truth. You do not understand what binds you. You will sacrifice for her, but will she also sacrifice for you? Mira's eyes widened as uncertainty flooded her features. What do you mean? She breathed, shadows swirling ominously around her, and in that profound moment, the sense of time halted, the remnants of our love flickering dangerously on the precipice. A choice loomed, one that not only held the power of our futures but also threatened to unearth truths that could sever all ties. I felt fear grip my heart. It was as if we stood at a cliff, the chasm below deepened by every unanswered question. As the whisper of darkness seeped into our connection, I could hear the distant sound of a clock ticking, its resonance a reminder that at any moment, love could be redirected or extinguished. But through that despair, an undeterred flame ignited within. I had to harness the ties that love had woven, not just as a shield but also a sword, ready to confront whatever awaited. Yet as the urgency swelled, I couldn't shake the chilling thought: was I willing to sacrifice everything, even my own happiness, to truly understand the love we fought for? Would I dare to face the potential of losing her again? The darkness roiled around us, a tempest of attachments and doubts grasping at my every word. "Mira!" I bellowed, the sound tumbling into the unfathomable abyss. "We have to push through this. We have to trust each other." But her luminous figure quivered against the violent shadows like a candle flickering in a storm. I could see her resolve waver, and the shadows sensed it. They surged forward, eager to tug her back into their depths. "Mira!" I called again, agony stitching through my heart. "You are more than this darkness. Remember who you are. Remember what we shared," she echoed, and for the briefest instant, her eyes seemed to capture the light again, each bright memory flashing through us like shooting stars. Yet the truth lingered, shrouded behind the swirling chaos. What if that very connection was the catalyst to our destruction? What if the love that held us together could also tear us apart? As the shadows shifted, their whispers morphed into a ghostly lament. "You think this love is real? You think it can conquer the truth lying within you?" They circuited around Mira, their disdain almost palpable, clawing at the tender threads of our bond. "Your hearts are fragile, foolish beings draped in illusions." My hands trembled, the warmth we had cultivated battling desperately against the chill of doubt. "Whatever it is you're hiding, we can work through it together," I implored her, refusing to yield to their venomous taunts. "We've endured so much, Mira. We can't let the shadows win, can't let them define our story." Mira recoiled slightly, staring into the creeping darkness. "But Soren," her voice trembled, "what if the shadows hold a truth that is too devastating to face?" That question hung between us, the distance between our hearts seeming insurmountable. My thoughts raced, and the shadows began to elucidate their sinister grasp on our reality. "You have no idea, Soren," one whispered, as if coaxing me toward despair. "She feels it, too. The love you cherish is but a mask concealing deeper failures and regrets. Mira, ignore them," I urged, willing my fear to evaporate like mist. "They want nothing more than to fracture us. But if we hold tight, do you think holding tight is enough?" She cut in sharply, her sorrow morphing into something more profound. "These memories, they aren't just illuminated paths. They are also faded photographs of what we've lost, moments that haunt me." The shadows cackled, feeding on her worry, each voice blending into a wicked harmony. "Fear drips like a black rain. Look at your love, so fragile in the face of reality's tumult. It will shatter, leaving nothing behind but echoes of regret." A sharp pang jabbed at my chest, as I confronted the haunting specter of doubt. What if our love wasn't the all-consuming light I'd claimed it to be? I thought back to our disagreements, the unsaid words that had clung to the air in our quietest moments, the binds of love tangled with guilt and unhealed scars. "I know it's not perfect," I admitted, my voice raw and vulnerable. "But please, let us at least try. I still believe in us." A sudden surge of warmth wrapped around my heart, igniting a memory of us dancing in the light of dawn, laughter spilling like melodic water between our souls. I felt that warmth in my fingers again, the fleeting touch of her essence, struggling to break free of the dark. "Yes, yes," I pleaded against the tempest. "We must surrender our grief, our fears. We have to choose each other every day, even when it hurts." Mira's silhouette wavered desperately, and for a moment, I saw her resolve rally as she took a step closer. But then, the shadows lunged forward, their icy grips snatching at her feet, dragging her back into the clutches of despair. "No!" I roared, chasing after her essence, feeling the tether between us stretch precariously thin. "We will not be undone." Yet the shadows lashed out again, their shrieks overwhelming. "You are the architect of your own sorrow. You must face the ugly truths buried in your past." Something shifted within as dread gripped my throat. Were they right? Was every truth I'd tried to bury now rising with a vengeance, threatening to tear apart the world I had fought to build with Mira? The weight of uncertainty pressed upon my chest, constricting until breathing itself felt like an act of rebellion, and amid the chaos, a single painful truth broke free. Mira had been holding something back, something that might fracture not only her resolve but also the fragile bond we cherished. The deeper uncertainty coiled around my mind, leaving behind echoes of memories I could barely grasp. "Please, tell me," I urged, desperation making my voice tremble. "You must trust me, let me help." "What are you hiding?" The shadows loitered, waiting with bated breath, reveling in the moment. Myra's trembling form seemed caught in a tumultuous storm, uncertainty clouding her face. "There are things I never shared, Soren," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Things that might cost us everything." "What do you mean?" Terror twisted my stomach into knots, but I could already sense the terrifying truth lurking. Did I truly want to know? "You can't let them win. Whatever it is, we'll bear it together. Just please." Her eyes shimmered briefly, the glow of her spirit flickering in the face of the truth she feared. "I don't know if our love can withstand the weight of it," she confessed, her voice breaking. "And what if discovering it tears us apart?" Suddenly, the shadows swarmed, their voices intertwining with a haunting song. "This love of yours is nothing but a whisper in a storm. Will it endure the truth? Dare you even hope it to be so?" As their words sunk in, I knew something had to change. There I stood at the precipice of love and despair. The storm raged within and without as the possibility of losing Mira loomed closer. I felt the chill of the shadows creeping forward, determined to sever the threads of connection we fought so hard to weave. And yet, amidst the storm, the glimmer of hope intertwined with the uncertainty in her eyes beckoned me forward. "Let us face it, whatever it is," I implored, pushing past the fear clawing at my heart. "Together, we're stronger than any truth or shadow." With that, I reached for her with steadfast resolve, closing the distance between us, willing the light of our shared love to unify the cracks that threatened to break us apart. But as our fingers brushed, a flash of darkness surged around us, twisting the air, drowning my plea in a tumult of shadows. A deep rumble echoed through the void, and the very fabric of our connection trembled. "The truth will always come to light, Soren," the shadows hissed, their voices a chilling chorus. "And when it does, will your love withstand the coming storm?" The air crackled with a sharp tension as an agonizing thought struck. What if this was the very moment the truth unraveled everything we had fought for? I looked into Mira's eyes, searching for a sign, but I could only see an abyss of uncertainty reflected back. Time hung in the air, taut and frayed, like a threadbare tapestry ready to unravel. In that emotional cliffhanger, hope wavered against a tide of shadows, all while an unspoken truth lingered between us, threatening to shatter our fragile love. Would we face it together, or would this moment become our undoing? The turbulence around us swirled like a blustery wind as the shadows wrapped tightly around Mira, pulling her farther from my reach. My heart raced in my chest, each beat thundering in time with mounting dread. What was she holding back? Whatever it was, I could sense that it had wrapped itself around her like chains, dragging her deeper into the abyss. "Mira! Please!" My voice cracked, desperation spilling forth. I knew this was a pivotal moment, the precipice where everything either shattered or transformed into something we never imagined. "We can't retreat into the darkness. Whatever it is you fear, I can handle it. You must let me in." For a moment, the shadows hesitated, as if weighing their options like malevolent specters with regard to our hearts. The murmurs grew faint, dragging at the corners of my sanity, but rather than yielding, they urged me to push harder. I couldn't allow fear to dictate the narrative of our love. Not now. She drew a deep breath, her shoulders trembling under the specter of uncertainty. Soren, you have to understand. I thought it was all behind me, she whispered, her voice barely audible, laced with the weight of unspoken grief. But there are truths buried in my past that I've kept hidden for so long. If you knew. Her words trailed off, leaving a cavern of silence where anxious hope flickered like a wavering flame. Tell me. I urged again, trying to breach the emotional fortress she had fortified around herself. I want to shy away from it. Just give me the chance to know you fully, to help. In her eyes, I saw the struggle to let go, the clash between the urge to reveal her hidden truth and the paralyzing fear of judgment that loomed like a phantom. In that moment, I felt the distance between us swell as if the shadows were pulsing, filling the expanding void with every doubt we had nurtured together. Suddenly, I was struck by memories of quiet moments, the shared laughter that had knit our souls together. I recalled a tender afternoon, a picnic in the field where we first confessed our love, the golden sun drenching us in warmth. We were happy then, I reminded her, and we can be again. If we just set aside the shadows and face what they bring, we can find our way back. Her brow furrowed, torn between the light of our memories and the darkness looming ahead. You don't understand, she whispered, anguish lining her features. The secrets I hold, the burden they're tied to losses I never fully faced. A tremor coursed through me, an uninvited emotion threatening to bubble over. Loss? What loss? I pressed, never losing sight of her. My voice became softer, more vulnerable. Mira, let me bear the burden with you. You don't have to face it alone. At last, her gaze met mine, the light of her eyes illuminating the crushing sorrow hidden inside, yet it flickered as the shadows stirred once more, eager to feed on her despair. My brother, she revealed in a shaky breath, he drowned. I was there, I felt him slip away, and I couldn't save him. My heart plummeted like a stone, the breath catching in my throat. How could I have never known? The truth struck like a bolt, igniting a whirlwind of empathy within me. The shadows pulsed excitedly, sensing the crack forming in my defenses. Before I had time to gather my thoughts, she continued, I shut down after that. I pushed away everyone, including you. I thought I could shield you from the storm within me, but every day since has only deepened the scars. It became clear that the shadows were not just whispers of doubt, they were manifestations of her pain, an eternal loop that fed on her anguish and guilt. Mira, I would have held you tighter. I would have taken every ounce of that pain if you had let me. My voice wavered, wrestling with the chasm that now lay between us. For a fleeting second, her resolve faltered, the shadows dimming in their assault, exposing a glimmer of vulnerability. I was afraid you wouldn't understand, she admitted, her voice cracking. That the weight of my past would suffocate the love we have built. Never. I exclaimed. Love is meant to absorb pain, to weather the storm together. You are not alone, and you must let the light of our bond shine, even if it's tremulous in the dark. Yet the shadows were rallying, rising in deafening anger, their fury almost palpable as if they felt our connection strengthening. Foolish mortals. They shrieked, drowning out my pleas. You think love will shield you from the reality of loss? It will only accumulate sorrow until it crushes you. Stop. Mira shouted, her voice ringing out like a lighthouse amidst a tempest, and for a moment, the shadows ceased their thrumming. Stop filling my heart with fear. Soren is right, I can't let this darkness, these memories define me. Her defiance was electric, a surge of strength that electrified the air between us. My heart soared with newfound hope, watching as she stepped deeper into the light, embracing the vulnerability of her truth. I want to face this. If love can carry us through fragmented pieces of ourselves, then it's worth fighting for. But just as her courage began to rise, a cold wind swept through, shifting the tempests violently. The shadows slashed at the air, creeping closer once more. You believe you can escape your past? They howled, ready to pounce on her awakening spirit. You have merely placed a bandage on an open wound. In that moment, as the darkness surged with renewed fury and the shadows cavorted to reclaim her, a chilling realization struck me deeper than any blow. The truth didn't revolve just around her brother's loss. There was something more, a deeper narrative woven through her silence. With panic constricting my chest, I grasped for the hidden thread in our shared history. Mira! I yelled, urgency flooding my tone. What else is there? You're holding back something vital. Is there more to this that you're not telling me? What are we battling here? A flicker of fear crossed her features, and just as she opened her mouth to respond, the shadows surged forward with unfathomable force, their whispering voices too swift for me to dissect. Love is no match for death's binding chains. They will ensnare you both before you even understand. As the shadows clenched around us like the jaws of fate, Mira's expression shifted from determination to abject terror, and I felt it a winding anguish threading through her soul, radiating into mine. I grasped for her hand, willing to fight against whatever truth lay ahead, but it was the unnerving silence in her eyes that shattered my essence. Mira's past was a heavier weight than I had dared to contemplate, a darkness we had only begun to scratch the surface of. And as the shadows closed in, I feared that unearthing the entirety of her truth might cost me more than I was willing to pay. Would we emerge forged even stronger, or would this revelation set ablaze the dwindling light of our love, binding us to the shadows from which we sought to flee? The haunting chorus echoed around us, drowning my thoughts, and I could only grip her hand tighter, as if anchoring ourselves against an ominous tide ready to sweep us away. Mira's gaze shifted to the twisted shadows that loomed over us, breathing their dark whispers. The weight of her unspoken truth hung heavily in the air, a palpable fear that gripped her heart and seemed to pull me, too, under a swirling tide of uncertainty. My fingers tightened around hers, desperately trying to connect us amidst the chaos, even as I recognized the fateful depth of the gulf growing between our shared shadows. Please, Mira, I implored, my voice fighting to rise above the howling of darkness. What is it? I need to know not just the fragment you hold back, but the entirety of your truth. I knew I was asking for everything, delving into layers of pain woven tightly through her past. The shadows pulsed hungrily, but our connection surged at that moment, igniting the fragile hope within me. She exhaled sharply, struggling against the rising tide of dread, but knowing the only way to truly fight this battle was to confront the very nature of her dread. There's more, she finally whispered, her voice breaking. It's not just about losing my brother. There was also the guilt. The secret I was supposed to save him, Soren. Heart pounding in my chest, I could feel my breath hitch as the truth wormed its way into my core. What do you mean? How could you? The day he drowned, she interrupted, her eyes quaking with raw emotion. I was supposed to be watching him. I let him swim too far out, convinced he was fine. I just didn't think. I thought he was strong enough, like I was. A strangled sob escaped her lips, each word coated in anguish. I couldn't reach him, and it's haunted me ever since. The revelation was a dagger to my heart, and yet, the sudden clarity settled like a weight in my stomach. I had suspected there was more, but the enormity of this guilt, a burden she had carried alone, made my chest tighten painfully in response. Mira, that wasn't your fault, I murmured, desperately wishing that mere words could lift the immense weight of her grief. You couldn't have known. You were just a kid. Her jaw clenched, and the shadows around us responded, thrumming with fierce energy as if shaking at the very foundations of her turmoil. But I should have known. I was with him, I should have seen how far he was going. I failed him, and now, because of my weakness, I can't save you from this. The shadows hissed in delight at her self-imposed isolation, feeding on the despair emanating from her like a shining beacon. See? You cannot escape the consequences of your cowardice, they taunted, drawing closer, forcing a chill through our trembling hands. No! I shouted, feeling an unfamiliar fury rise within me. This is not a consequence, it's a wound, one that you did not create without intention. You have carried this pain for too long, as if it were a shield, but it only keeps you from the love and warmth that can help heal you. Mira's eyes fluttered, caught between the abyss and the light of my words, her heart dancing precariously on the edge of fear and hope. But what if it isn't enough? She questioned, her voice a mere whisper against the clamor of darkness. What if I never feel free of this? Her vulnerability, soft and aching, dug deep into my soul. Then we fight together. I won't let the shadows win, I responded firmly, brushing a stray tear from her cheek with my thumb, the simple touch grounding us in an explosive moment filled with both pain and tenderness. You don't have to navigate this alone anymore. The love we share can illuminate even the darkest corners. The shadows waned momentarily, as if my words had struck a chord of resonance against their darkened symphony. Mira's breath steadied, the fight in her flickering eyes warring with the ghosts of her past. But what if there are more secrets? As if summoned by our dialogue, the ground beneath us began to tremble, sending a shudder through my bones. What do you mean? I asked urgently, swallowing the growing dread climbing my throat. Mira hesitated and then, with a fearful longing in her voice, she confessed, the day of the drowning I wasn't just watching him. I was with someone else. I was with Benjamin. Her words echoed in the air, hanging like an ominous storm cloud. My first love, I should have been with him instead of at the lake. My heart sank further, the weight of her revelation like a heavy stone dropped into my chest. So you were distracted? I stuttered, struggling to comprehend the depths of her turmoil. Distracted enough that you couldn't see? Mira's nod was almost imperceptible, her lips trembling as the shadows coalesced with gleeful malice around us. That secret complicates everything, doesn't it? I don't know if I can bear you knowing it. The atmosphere thickened, the shadows hissing and swirling, eager to reclaim control over her heart, but something deep within me ignited. This isn't just a secret, it's truth, I beseeched, my voice threading through the chaos, earnest and raw. And it deserves acknowledgement. We can turn this into a bridge, not a chasm, an invitation to heal instead of a barrier. But as the weight of her dual confessions lay heavy between us, the shadows escalated in ferocity, feeding off her vulnerability. Foolish mortals. They rasped, you think you can heal when guilt suffocates every hope? There is no redemption in your tangled web of despair. In that instant, driven by desperation and the fierce urge to protect her, I pulled her closer, solidifying our bond as I stepped forward resolutely into the encroaching darkness. Mira, I won't let you face this nightmare alone. Together we can unravel the truth. Together we can get to the heart of this fear. As she looked up at me, a surge of courage flickered within her eyes. Just when I thought the tide would shift and the shadows would relent, a blinding flash of light rippled through the darkness, a beacon like nothing I had ever encountered. The shadows recoiled in shrieking disarray, and with it came a revelation of clarity. Who dares challenge the depths of despair? They shrieked with frenzy. Suddenly, the earth quaked, and a haunting image flickered in front of us, a vision of a boy with familiar features, his face twisted in agony as the waters engulfed him. Benjamin. Mira gasped, recognizing the ghostly visage that shimmered momentarily in the air, the memory striking shock against our hearts. I felt the pull of realization seep through the depths of my being. Whatever was hidden, whatever guilt tethered to her heart, had manifested into something far more deadly. As the shadows moved to envelop the vision, I could only turn to Mira, my voice hoarse with dread. Mira, what if this is how the past manifests? What if we're not just fighting shadows but the very remnants of your guilt, the echoes of Benjamin's final moments? Her breath hitched again, terror pooling in her eyes. With panic rising in her chest, she shook her head, whispering, I don't know if I can face him. But as those flickering images shrouded us, I knew one thing: if we were to get through this, we had to fight, and part of the fight was standing together against the very ghosts that had haunted her for too long. Mira, I murmured, squeezing her hand tighter, the warmth of our union igniting a flicker of strength within us both. You don't have to face them alone. Not now. Not ever. As the shadows lashed out, howling their warnings, I could feel her tension shift, her heart weighing the truth against the darkness. We were on the cusp of unraveling something monumental, a truth that loomed larger than any shadow, yet the confrontation beckoned ominously, requiring courage from both of us that we were still struggling to comprehend, but buried in the storm was a glimmer of hope, a chance to reclaim her truth, all while I prayed it wouldn't shatter the love we fought to protect. Yet the uncertainty hung like a dark thread, pulling us deeper into the unknown just as we were on the verge of understanding. The tension crackled around us, birthing a final question that pressed against my thoughts as we braced for the storm. Would facing these shadows bring us closer or drive an irreversible wedge into the light of our love? The shadows pulsated rhythmically, their dark tendrils dancing around us as we stood on the precipice of an emotional abyss. Mira's breath came in ragged gasps, caught between the agony of the past and the flicker of hope our bond kindled. I watched her face twist in turmoil, and my heart ached with the weight of her struggle. The overwhelming presence of the dark loomed, threatening to reclaim her, to drag her back into guilt and sorrow. "We can't let them win, Soren," she said, her voice trembling yet resolute as she clung to my hand. "I don't want to lose this, not again." Her words struck deep, echoing the fear that had taken root in my own heart. We could easily become lost in this battle, just two souls battling the shadows of everything we had yet to confront. As Mira squared her shoulders, eyes dancing with a newfound strength, I sensed a shift, both in her and around us. "Remember what you said," I urged softly. "This isn't just about the past, it's a chance to reclaim what belongs to us. Love and redemption don't come without struggle." But fear coiled tighter around her heart, and as the vision of Benjamin momentarily flickered out, uncertainty began to shadow her resolve. "How can I fight against someone I loved so utterly?" Her gaze fell to the ground, her shoulders sagging under the weight of 1,000 unshed tears. "What if confronting him breaks me? Then I'll be there to pick up the pieces," I vowed, clutching her cold hand. "Just like you did for me." Mira looked up at me, confusion and desperation swirling in those luminous eyes. "But Soren, you don't understand. From the very day I chose him over my brother, I have been haunted. What if I condemned us both to this life of shadows?" In that moment, the shadows roared as if relishing our fears, their dark voices mingling in a cacophony of taunting laughter. "You see? You see the futility of your bond," they taunted. "Her heart is shackled, and yours will end up shattered. It's only a matter of time." "No!" I shouted defiantly, feeling the heat of anger surge within me again. "You don't get to dictate how we feel, or what we can overcome. Love, real love, is forged in the flame of these battles. It doesn't just fade into oblivion." The shadows recoiled, momentarily stung by my conviction. There was a brief lull as they hesitated, and I took advantage of the moment to squeeze Mira's hand, igniting that flicker of courage. "Mira, fight with me not against the past, but for the love we've forged here and now. Trust me." Her eyes filled with tears, but beneath the sorrow was a flicker of something else, tentative hope. "You really believe that we can conquer this?" "I do," I said, my voice steady as granite. "We owe it to ourselves to take this leap together, to face the memories that harangue you, and no matter how devastating they are, we will do it as one. I will not lose you to these shadows." Just as I finished speaking, a tremor rippled through the ground again, but this time it felt different, less malevolent, more like a pulse, a heartbeat. The shadows throbbed, their glee at our despair fading into something more insidious. Mira's eyes widened, and she gasped, "What is that?" "I think it's a call," I replied, questions swirling but instinct driving me forward. "I think it's the past trying to reach us, not just to hurt us, but to draw us in. We have to step closer." With resolve, I led her deeper into the heart of the darkness, each step echoing with rebellion. Together we forged through the chaotic whirlwind of emotions, the shadows clawing at us as if sensing our brink of discovery. "Wait!" Mira suddenly cried, halting in her tracks. Listen. Amidst the cacophony of the dark, I sensed a whisper, a soft call like a familiar melody weaving through the chaos. It was a voice from long ago, gentle and tender, beckoning us. My heart raced, it had a haunting familiarity. Mira. The voice called, unmistakably Benjamin S. Mira. It is safe, come to me. No. Mira screamed, horror spreading across her face. She dropped my hand, stepping back, fear etched deep. Stay back, Soren. I can't fall into that. But Benjamin's voice cut through her panic, sorrowful and pained. You never should have lost me. You have to understand, I never wanted this for you. What do you mean? She cried out, anguish spilling from her like a river previously dammed. You're the one who turned into a ghost of your burdens? Turned into a memory that haunts instead of heals? Yes. But you allowed that. His voice trembled, each word laced with regret and longing. You were the light I saw before I lost everything. I never wanted you to be trapped in sorrow. Shadows coiled tighter, hissing shrilly, yet within the chaos, I could see Mira's struggle, the battle waging within her expression. Her heart was torn between the torment of his ghost and the reality of the love she understood with me, yet he was a part of her story too, one filled with longing. Mira. I urged, reaching for her again, the fear of losing her now eclipsed by the fight against the shadows encroaching upon us. Remember, this is not just about him. It's about you and your choice to heal and step out of the shadows of your past. The wailing of the dark surged forward, pulling at her resolve, rattling the foundation of the fragile hope we had built. You can't have her. You lost her long ago. I shouted toward the shadowy figures humming with menace. Mira's eyes flickered from his ghost to mine, teetering dangerously on the brink. Soren, I'm so scared. In that moment of vulnerability, I stepped closer, my gaze earnest and imploring. Then don't step back. Let us face this together. We shall face the truth of your love and your grief. Stay with me, Mira, please. And just as a flicker of understanding began to form within her, the shadows lunged forward with wild ferocity, clinging to her tightly, a binding energy threatening to crush her spirit. Mira! I screamed, but the tendrils wrapped tighter around her. Just then, the world around us buzzed, and an echo of laughter rang out. You think they can salvage what they treasure, little girl? You shall be devoured in this moment, ensnared once more by the darkness of your past. I could see the shadows constricting her, but within those moments, I saw a flicker, a small waterfall of light emerging from her heart, a fragile filament of hope weaving through despair. It connected us, a tether that nothing should sever. And as the shadows screeched in fury, I felt an insistent pull. It was a chance to reclaim, to fight the shadows with her light, but the challenge loomed larger than ever. Would it be enough? Mira, focus on me. I shouted, trying to pierce through the clamor. Your love doesn't die here. This moment is the turning point. Fight for us. But even as I spoke, terror gripped me as the shadows began to drift closer to that flicker of light, threatening to snuff it out. Within the depths, I knew we stood at the edge of no return. Would we fall together into the abyss, or could we ignite the flame of hope against the consuming dark? And as the shadows closed in, their energy flaring brighter, I felt a heartbreaking realization settle through me like ice. If we lost this battle, if the shadows won, not only would Mira's heart be shattered, but so too would my own, a love lost to specters that feasted on despair. With resolve threading through my veins, I stepped forward. Was she with me? Would she face her past, fight for her future, for us? The battle was only just beginning, and we were both poised on the brink of something monumental, teetering toward unknown depths. Would we emerge victorious, or would the darkness swallow us whole? I was no longer sure if I was awake or trapped in a fever dream, staring into the swirling abyss of my sister's gaze. The shadows danced ravenously around us, devouring light, laughter, and hope. Yet amidst the struggle, an ember flickered in my chest. I felt it soon become a blazing inferno, igniting my soul with fervor. Mira, listen to me. I shouted, pushing past the panic that gripped her like a vice. This battle is not just mine, it's yours, too. We have the strength to confront this darkness together. Her eyes widened with uncertainty, tinged ever so slightly with defiance. I watched her shatter, first into pieces, and then slowly start to reassemble, the very fibers of her being threading through the portals of heartache and despair. Just as I thought I could reach her, the shadows lunged forward in a twisting mass, drawing in her breath, wrapping it around the sorrow they thrived on. Focus on the love you have for your brother. Focus on everything he meant to you. Let that light shine through, Mira. I urged again, my fists clenched, the ache in my chest reaching its crescendo. If I could evoke the essence of the love that should have defined her relationship with Benjamin, it could illuminate the way forward. The shadows hesitated, flickering at the edges of our encounter as if unsure of what to do now, perhaps wary of the bonds of that love, terrified by the recognition of resilience. Myra's breath hitched, I could see her trembling, caught in an expanding storm, but beneath the fear lay an undeniable spark. But how? She gasped, glancing from me to the swirling night of memories threatening to consume her. Just close your eyes and remember, I began, and she obeyed, the tension in her shoulders relaxing just enough for me to see the gateway of hope beginning to unfold. Benji was your light, he always lifted you up, brought laughter to your heart, even on the darkest days. Your love for him never dies, even if he is gone. Remember the childhood adventures, how you tackled every challenge together. Picture every day you spent in the sun. Hold on to that light. Let that connection and love guide you. As if on cue, the shadows writhed angrily. This love cannot save you. This love will only let his ghost haunt you further. They lashed out, venom hanging thick in the air, but I raised my chin, undeterred. No, it won't. Because this love is what will free you. Mira, I believe in you. Fight against the shadows that wish to silence your truth. With each heartbeat, I could feel electricity crackling between us, the ground shaking slightly as her memories collided with the shadows. The remnants of Benjamin's essence flickered into view, a shimmering aura pulled through the chaos like light through a fractured window. I could feel my sister's heart synchronize with mine, merging the pain and love that surrounded us, illuminating a pathway through the dark. Benji, I never wanted to lose you. Mira finally cried out, her voice raw, fierce, echoing against the resonant walls of reality. I'm sorry for not saving you. I buried myself in guilt instead of honoring your memory. But I don't want to hide anymore. Just like that, a radiant brilliance exploded within her chest, cascading light like a waterfall pouring over everything. The shadows recoiled, shrieking in fury, their obsidian forms faltering against the love we wielded together. And in the bright moment of her confession, I could feel Mira's light begin to pulse, a testament to resilience, a beacon breaking through the chaos. Mira, yes. Let it flow. Let it free you. I encouraged, watching in awe as her love for Benjamin transformed into a powerful force, illuminating shadows that once seemed insurmountable. They writhed and shrieked, drowned in the brilliance of truth. I love you, Benji. She cried, her voice resonating with clarity that echoed across the realms. I'll carry your memory always, never again as a burden, always as the light I carry in my heart. In that instant, everything shifted. The darkness began to dissipate, conflicting memories unraveling like threads. Falling away, retreating from the light of her courage. I grasped her hand tightly, feeling the warmth radiating from her spirit. We were breaking chains of grief that had ensnared her for far too long, but just as we stood on the cusp of an emotional reunion, the shadows roared, enraged, launching a last desperate assault on our moment of clarity. You may have found a flicker, but you cannot extinguish our hold. You cannot escape the depths of your despair. No. I bellowed into the chaos, the rush of adrenaline coursing through my veins as I tightened my grip on Mira. We are not bound to our past but are strengthened by our love. You've taught me that. You are no longer shackled. The shadows shrieked, retreating with this unrelenting brightness, but they were not done yet. Their fury surged, intertwining with darkness, attempting to pull Mira back into their clutches. It felt like a tumultuous tide threatening to drown us both. Fight it, Mira. It's your past, but it doesn't have to dictate your present. I urged her, my voice steady and emboldened. On the edge between hope and despair, I felt the boundaries fracture. Her gaze locked with mine, determination sparked between us, and she stepped forward, unyielding, as the memories surrounding us ignited. I am not a prisoner of my regrets, she declared, every trembling syllable carrying the weight of years of grief. I find strength in my love, in the laughter we shared, in the memories stored, not as shackles but as wings. I choose love. With that proclamation, the shadows writhed furiously, their snarls dissipating into desperate echoes fading into the abyss. The ground beneath us shook violently as light enveloped everything, replacing the darkness with brilliance. In that radiant void, I felt her spirit wrap around mine, the depth of our connection binding us both. I could feel the warmth flowing through my fingertips, filling the expanse between us with a tether that held hope and love intertwined. Then the shadows dissolved, retreating from the battlefield our hearts had forged. Flecks of darkness receded, vanishing like smoke, leaving an ethereal stillness enveloping us. The haunting sounds of despair faded, as they were replaced with the soft whisper of love. Now more than memories, it was the embodiment of the journey we had taken together. Mira and I shared a breath, an inhale that intertwined our lives, a moment of clarity that became our shared salvation as the remnants of our pain ebbed. We did it, I murmured, tears slipping down my cheeks, tears of relief and catharsis. Yes, she whispered, a smile blooming slowly across her face, illuminating every corner of a heart once gripped by shadows. Together. And in that moment, as the remnants of darkness dissipated, I felt it, a deep knowing settling in my heart. We were no longer defined by our past, rather, we were the architects of our future, towers of light unfurling amongst the ruins of despair. As we stood hand in hand, the expanse of soft warmth enveloping us felt infinite, promising love and hope springing anew. What was once an unknown journey had burrowed into a tapestry of strength, a vivid reminder that our scars, too, hold powerful stories of healing and courage. Love is not just the light that guides us, it's the truth that sets us free, I said, my voice merging with the gentle wind that brushed past us, leaving behind the echoes of our journey, a testament that we would continue to fight for love, for each other, no matter the storm that lay ahead. And just like that, as we stepped into the luminance, I felt the weight of the world lifting, leaving a shimmering promise in its wake that despite the shadows that had once claimed us, here we were, standing united against everything they had sought to extinguish. Together, we would forge ahead into the dawn of new beginnings. As sunlight pierced through the remnants of uncertainty, I turned to Mira, my heart full, hope unfurling in our shared truth. With every whisper of the breeze, I knew authoring our tale would take many more chapters, but now, we faced them unceasingly together. Remember this moment, I breathed, cradling her face in the palms of my hands. No matter what, love conquers all. And as the words hung between us, hope rippled through our essence, leaving not just the promise of tomorrow, but a vivid acknowledgement that our shared love was the fiercest courage we would ever know. A love that would guide us through every storm, a light that would never flicker out, and a heart that would never forget. With her gaze firmly locked on mine, I realized, our story was only just beginning, and I was ready for whatever lay ahead, arm in arm with the person I loved most in the world.